Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're on our long weekend. It's September 4th. I know. This is the third time you've heard me today. I appreciate you all being here. This is just going to be a top 10 type of questionnaire that people have sent me stuff in. And I want to thank the new subs. And again, I want to thank Mike again for the $2 earlier, the super chat. And I want to thank, looks like Deedley Pierre. He has subscribed 8 hours ago. So I appreciate everybody coming in and subscribing and doing their thing. And shout out to everybody that's here now and everybody will listen later. And so, yeah, here we go. We'll start with our first story. And it's just the only story, actually, because I wanted to put this up on the screen here. I mean, I keep hearing people saying that Sony is anti-consumer. I wanted to show you the results of one of the lawsuits that got tossed out. It didn't even get to argument stage because these idiots brought no facts. And I just think it's cool at this point to say that, Sony's being anti-consumer. And what I have discovered is that because Sony is charging $70 per game, and there's people who can't afford that, or say they can't afford that because times are hard, and they want Sony to make things easy for them. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody does that. But so yeah, people saying, well, they're just going to leave Sony's platform, and Sony won't care about that. They just won't. But so, and I've said this before, if a game costs $3.50 and you only have $1, you're going to say the game is too expensive because you can't afford it. So what this is coming down to is they are saying that because prices have gone up with Sony's games, that's an act of anti-consumerism because in their mind, they're being priced out of the market. See what I'm saying? So just as they're saying that because the delivery person, they bought a game, the Last of Us Part 1, Firefly Edition, it's coming to them damaged. This is Sony's fault. And that's the fault of your courier. But they're saying, well, Sony should give me my money back. No, you need to go after the courier because all Sony's going to say is, well, when it left the factory, it didn't look like that. That's all they'll say. And it will be up to you to try to prove that it was broken before it got there. So the last person that had it, you got to remember, possession is 9/10 of the law. The last person that had it was the courier. They're the ones you need to be upset with. But I digress. I want you all to see this because your friend Marlon Gaming Nation was on his high horse again today talking about anti-consumerism, and he doesn't know what that means. So, but this is what happens when people try to bring cases of antitrust, anti-consumerism. And this is from Bloomberg Law. This happened in July, so a month and a half ago. And people didn't report it. But let's see here. It says here that this is the plaintiffs can amend the complaint. So pretty much when you find evidence, you can come back. So he dismissed it. I believe it will be called with prejudice. But Sony Interactive Entertainment convinced a federal judge to toss a proposed class action alleging the entertainment giant engaged in anti-competitive, that's anti-consumerism, acts through its control of PlayStation Store. Goes on to say, again, because you're going to file your court in district court, U.S. District Court, Northern District of California, who granted Sony's motion to dismiss July 15th, found the plaintiffs, these are these idiot gamers, plaintiffs failed to adequately allege violations under the Sherman Act, but the plaintiffs could file an amended complaint, he said. So basically, they don't meet the basic things of the Sherman Act, and that they try to sue Sony under that act. It's like, okay, what vehicle of law are you using to sue them under anti-consumerism? Oh, the Sherman Act. Okay. And basically, Sony went in there and said they didn't even meet that. And so the judge agreed. This is the plaintiffs, a group of video game players, again, idiots, who purchased digital copies of games from the PlayStation Store, alleged that Sony's decision to sell video games only on the store where it could control prices unlawfully monopolized the market and increased costs for consumers. So see, why are they suing? Increased costs. They don't want to have to pay the extra costs. So that Sony had previously allowed other retailers to sell its digital games, but it changed its policy back in 2019. So the only available marketplace was the Sony-run PlayStation Store, where the company could unilaterally set prices for every game, the complaint alleged. Okay. Lawsuit hinged on whether the move to sell only on the PlayStation Store was intended primarily to cut off competition rather than a shrewd business decision. That the plaintiffs, it's a shrewd business decision. The plaintiffs were unable to sufficiently show that Sony ended a profitable business practice to seize control of the market, because that is anti-consumerism. That is an act of anti-consumerism when you can show that they ended profitable business practice to seize control. Yeah, that's anti-consumerism. So for all the foregoing reasons, the motion to dismiss is granted because plaintiffs have failed to allege adequate anti-competitive conduct under the Sherman Act. Basically, they said Sony was doing something anti-consumer, and the judge said, no, they're not. Right? So, and it goes on to say that other claims are derivative of the Sherman Act. Although it's unclear at this time if the deficiencies may be cured, plaintiff is granted leave to amend. So basically, because he's like, okay, if you all can come back and show something, you can refile your complaint. The lawsuit is one in a wave of antitrust litigations leveled against video game publishers and digital platform companies. Recently, Valve, owner of PC game platform Steam, that's funny, they own Steam, their name is Valve, okay, is facing a consumer and developer lawsuit alleging it utilizes a most favored nation policy to maintain its control of the market and high prices for games. So again, when this part up here, increased costs for customers, that's what this is all coming down to, is that they don't want to pay extra for anything. It's, I had people email me, well, it's hard times and they shouldn't have done this, and that's why people are complaining. Again, Sony's doing this. They look at themselves as Ruth Chris, and they look at everybody else as Applebee's. So there's now talk that Nintendo is going to raise the price of its games. So now they may not raise the price of their console, but they may raise the price of their games. There's a difference in raising the software price versus the hardware price. So, but that's what Sony did, and the price is the price. And these cats are mad as hell at that. See, you feel me? So I wanted to show that because I did hear people saying, oh, they're being anti-consumer. But again, these lawsuits for some reason aren't going anywhere. So they're not able to go nowhere. So let's get into the questions. These are my top 10 questions, hit that like button if you don't mind. So shout out to everybody that is here. Shout out to PlayStation Ecstasy, Jeff B. Gaming, and Winsleep. So they say I want God of War to have VRR. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, I'm surprised this silly lawsuit got tossed. Well, yeah, you got to understand. You got a group of people claiming that they're anti-consumer, but then when you got to put up in court, not on the internet, not on your podcast, when you have to put up that this is anti-consumerism and you can't prove it, and I'm not going to go into the Sherman Act and all that kind of stuff. Any attorney can go into the Sherman. I'm not an attorney, so that's why I've always said I always wait for as much information as I can so that you all get an accurate picture. So it's like the video game Mass Effect when Shepard got the vision from the Prothean beacon. You don't understand it till the very end. You're able to piece everything together. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a silly laws. People don't want to pay the extra cost, and that's what this is all really starting to come down to. I'm starting to notice a pattern, and everything is about the cost. It's not fair. So they think that by the cost going up, that's an act of anti-consumerism. When once again, the fact that you can go and buy it or not buy it is pro-consumer. So imagine Best Buy. You go to Best Buy, you go to Walmart, and Walmart says, yeah, y'all can come in the store, but you have to buy a box of Cheerios. Or you have to buy this Walmart brand shovel for $3 before you can do anything else. We're not going to let you leave the store. We're going to violate you from the store if you don't buy this shovel. That's anti-consumerism because now you have a policy that's going to possibly harm the consumer. Like, why do I got to walk around with a shovel? See what I'm saying? So that is what anti-consumerism is. It's an act of malicious or malice against the consumer. So as long as the consumer has a choice, as long as the consumer has a choice, it's always going to be pro-consumer. What it is or is not anti-consumer is just subject. No, it's not. Anti-consumerism is an actual legal definition. You can actually sue based on anti-consumerism. Again, if you're getting an advantage in a market by doing crazy things to manipulate that market, yeah, that's an act of anti-consumerism. It's like somebody that if you make tires, if you have tires and you sell tires, you can't then control 59 to 62% of the market because now you could affect everybody else. Now you can control 10% of the market, and I'm talking about 10% of the market that makes rubber. All right, if you have a rubber factory, you have a rubber factory, and you make tires from that rubber factory. That's one thing, but you cannot you can't own all the rubber in the world and then make a factory. Now you can control everything. That's that's an act of antitrust. So that's why they don't want the businesses in the United States to get too big. That's why they don't want to do it. Again, people are using big words that they don't know, and they're telling people what they want to hear so that they can get a dono. I mean, that is just the truth at this point. So, and I've said before, somebody who uses the internet to get donations because that's the way they pay their bills, they're going to act differently than somebody who doesn't do that. So just be careful. I'm not going to tell you who to listen to. You're grown-ass men and women. I'm going to tell you to just be careful at who you're listening to and understand why they say what they say. That's it. There's no judgment on nobody. It's just, hey, look, you all got to be smarter about where you put your ear. So that's all. But let's get to my 10 questions because they cover a little bit of everything here. And the first one comes from Hotas. Spells it Hytoas exclamation point. So shout out to him for the question. It's a movie question. Question is, Craig, I just watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 4K. Well, congratulations there, Mr. Hotas. My question for you is why I'm sorry. My question my question for you is did they all get on the mothership at the end? And where did they go? Okay. So, did they all get on the mothership? The answer, and this is a spoiler, the answer is yes. They all got on the mothership. Where did they go? Whatever star is in the Milky Way, that group of extraterrestrials was from the Milky Way. How do I know that? Because when they first came into the atmosphere, they made the constellation of the Milky Way. So they were from the Big Dipper, I believe, the Big Dipper of the Milky Way. So that's where they went, because that's where they were from. So again, shout out to you for that question, though. That's a good question. Mario Hart says, "Why did reviewers give so much praise and high scores to Halo Infinite?" I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about that? Okay. I believe that there's an agenda out there. I believe it now. I didn't before because there wasn't enough evidence. Now I believe it's just we can't let, in this case, it's Sony, run carte blanche over Microsoft like they did last generation, or last generation and a half, so to speak. So we're going to just whatever Microsoft does, we're going to praise. And I've seen that from a lot of reviewers, from Jeff Grubb, who now works for, who works for Microsoft now. Okay, he put out, at least on Reddit. I don't know if Jeff has confirmed it, but there's a Reddit thread where Jeff Grubb claims that he is now working for Microsoft, ZeniMax. So, which is, but there's people like that. There's people like Alana Pierce, people with huge channels that are, pro Xbox because they don't want Xbox to go away. I've heard people say it. If Xbox goes away and all we have is Sony and Nintendo, you don't have an industry. Or it's not, it's like, well, no, you'll have an industry, but they won't have jobs. So there's a difference. There is a difference there. So there will be an industry, but they won't have jobs, and it's in their best interest. It's in their best interest for Microsoft to stay around, no matter how Microsoft has to do it. So, but actually, maybe they actually like the game. Let's look at it another way. Maybe they actually like the game. I thought Halo Infinite was okay, but there was no there. There was no there. There was nothing like, oh yeah, you got to play this. It was just kind of like I was playing. It felt like I was playing Halo 4.5. That's it. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was playing Halo 4.5. Now it did get more into the lore of Halo. That's what I really liked about it, was the lore. I liked the lore of Halo, the lore of Battlestar Galactica. I like the lore of that kind of stuff. The lore of Mass Effect, Star Trek, things like that. So I was willing to give it a run. But yeah, I just got to a point where it got stupid. I was just running around shooting the same thing, using a needler gun. Like, okay, this was fun. If it makes any difference, I never got to the planet. Like, I just said, the hell with it. I don't want to play this anymore. I mean, yeah, so, and now you're seeing the implosion of 343, and people, rightfully so, are mad because they have bastardized a very good franchise, in my opinion. That was that question from Hotas. Let me mark that out. Oh, here's an easy one. Movie Mania. I just answered this sort of. Mania, shout out to them. It just basically says, Craig, what is your favorite movie of all time? My favorite movie of all time is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. With Spielberg, I thought Spielberg was a master at the storytelling. He instilled just enough wonder and fear in that movie to carry an entire UFOlogy field. I mean, it had J. Edgar. I think it had Jay Heinrich in it. He had a quick cameo, and just phenomenal movie for me personally. I always say if you get a 4K player, the 4K Blu-ray player, and watch that movie in 4K, it is sensational. And just sit back and enjoy it. Now you'll laugh because it came out in the 70s and the way the people were dressing and the cars, and you'll see because the cars now are more rounded. Even the trucks are more rounded. Everything back in the 70s looked like a block. It's like you're rolling a block on four wheels. So you'll get a good laugh out of it. So, let's see. Here, what's up there? Wins. We'll go to another question. These are not in any order. Not in any order. Guy that calls himself Dude says, "What do I think of all the and alienation of alienation of the Microsoft deal possibly being held up? What are my thoughts on it? Talked about that a little bit this morning. Thank you for the question. We talked about it this morning. Those regulators are just doing their job, and that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't see it as some kind of grand conspiracy. They have a right to ask the questions they're asking. And again, it's not about the short term future, it is about the long term future. And, I heard other people say this. Once Microsoft has that, they have it. It's they'll, and they're trying to change the game because they lost the game playing against Sony and Nintendo. I've said before, Microsoft would have to do something because they can't compete with Nintendo on their left flank and and Sony on the right flank. That's just too much that those two companies put out. And even though Sony and Nintendo don't really work together a whole lot, they're not working against each other. So but I don't. The people are upset mainly, and this is just my opinion because you asked for it. People are upset because if the deal doesn't go through, Microsoft doesn't have a whole lot on that console to get people to buy the console. They want to champion a service that relinquishes ownership, which that's what Microsoft is. And so these guys are on Twitter and things like that, just going crazy, saying that Sony needs to do the same thing. So it's just because again, they know Sony can't beat Microsoft at this because it becomes a money game. Microsoft will just keep going and spending money because they just write it off. That's what they can do as a business. So, it is what it is. So media wants to pull Xbox back up to Nintendo and Sony. Yeah, arguably you can. That's what they come across like that to me. That's why, but I don't pay them any attention really. I don't listen to Alana Pierce. I don't listen to Jeff Grubb. I mean, I know you got a bunch of. The reason why Alana Pierce is so popular is because you got a bunch of sexually repressed men, and she's attractive. Alana Pierce is attractive. So, and a lot of guys are like, you know what? They find her attractive and they are looking to her for some type of all this justification, which is new to me. I never thought that grown ass people would feel the need to justify what they bought with their own money. To me, you buying it is justification enough, but it is what it is. So, what are you saying? Quit lying. If Activision doesn't go through, they still have plenty. Well, actually, they don't. They don't. Not in the eyes of the fanboy. I mean, maybe in your eyes they do. I'm not saying you're wrong, but in order for these guys to look, they desperately want something that people, whether you're in a Nintendo, whether you're on Nintendo or whether you're on the PlayStation, they want to desperately be able to say, we have something here that you now must buy our console for. You must come into our platform. That's why they're all over Twitter today. That's why they're all over Twitter. They've been over Twitter the last 2 or 3 days. Let's see here. Oh, this is another one from Movie Mania. Okay, this is about the movie Tenet. This will be about the movie Tenet. So, Movie Mania's question is, I just watched the movie Tenet not once but twice, and I still don't get what happened. Can you please explain it in, I guess that's supposed to be layman's terms, so that's from Movie Mania. Okay, so in the movie Tenet, Tenet is directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Robert Pattinson. It stars John David Washington as the protagonist. That's his name in it, the protagonist. And it's a movie about time eversion and time travel. So, again, it's about time eversion and time travel. So, But in the movie, the most important scene is the lunch slash dinner he has with Michael Caine. And Michael Caine says that 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, there was an explosion at the home of Andre Sater called Stocks 12. That's your most important conversation because that they're in a pincer going through time, not over space, but through time. So Neil's character has already done the mission. Neil's character has come back through time, through eversion, to help them do the mission. That's it. That's Neil's job. Neil has already went out into the battlefield. He's already died, but he's coming backwards in a different unit of time to help out the quote unquote protagonist. So bit rate of 128. I can go that. Okay, I'll do that after everything in 128. I mean to put everything in 128. All right. So, all right. So, but that's what happens in Tenet. So what you're seeing has already happened. And remember what Neil said. The goal is to suppress all information so that and compartmentalize their information. So the protagonist couldn't know these things because that would jeopardize the mission in the future. Everything had to happen exactly the way it happened in order for them to stop Sator. The goal was to let Sator get all the parts, and even for the explosion to happen, because they needed Sator to think that he won so that he wouldn't hit the dead man switch. But they ran into an issue. He shot his wife during an inversion mission, and they went back to help his wife, and they trusted his wife not to do something stupid, and she did something stupid. So they damn near ran out of time. But if you go back and watch it again, watch when Neil's helicopter comes in when they're fighting at Stocks 12. You will see the explosion go backwards. Well, that's Neil in the truck. That's Neil in that truck. So again, it's just a time eversion mission with a pincer movement in time. That's what happened in Tenet. So that was a good question, though. I enjoyed that. All right, we get gaming questions. But Mick, I think you're being silly. What's my favorite game of all time? Well, Mass Effect. Come on, I like Mass Effect. That was a game when I had the 360. That was my favorite game that I played, and I still enjoy it to this day. Play it on PC, playing it on PlayStation now. And back in the day, the PlayStation console didn't have Mass Effect 1. No, they did not have Mass Effect 1. So, and we didn't get Mass Effect 1, I don't think, came to the PS3, maybe at the very end of the generation. I think at the very end of the generation, they had, but what they did, what BioWare did was, BioWare put the Mass Effect 3 engine, on in Mass Effect 2 on PS3, and that played a lot better. But you had to wait. So Jeffy Gamer says fanboys want MS to buy everything up just to take it away. Well, yeah, they're really, and of course I thought this. Again, I was unable to prove it. It was just a hypothesis. They are actually furious over the whole Spider-Man thing. I spoke on it this morning, and they literally believe that Spider-Man was taken away from them by Sony, and all Sony did was Sony simply had publishing rights on console. That's it. Insomniac made that game for Marvel Games, and Sony published the game. That's it. Now, did Sony go help them make the game? I can't get that confirmed. So, did Sony help fund the game? Maybe. I don't know. But Sony acted as a concierge and Marvel games, because they were getting back into gaming, trusted Sean Layton to go ahead and be a good kind of concierge and keep an eye on things. That's it. But they truly do believe that. They think Sony should, because that's the first thing they bring up all the time is, well, what about Spider-Man and all that? I mean, they're pissed about that. So I mean, just this, I mean, there's no talking them down. You can present all the evidence you can to them, even though it's true. They just are furious over that. So yeah, they're, in order for them to compete, they have to take things away, and they know that, like, you know, and that's why they're having so much trouble with this deal right now. You know, they're having a ton of trouble with the deal right now because they're getting two things. They're getting because of what they did, and again, what they did with Bethesda. You know, my opinion is Sony ran in there and said, look, we had Elder Scrolls, we had this. Now Microsoft has come out and said that all these games are going to be multi-plat, but for how long and all that kind of stuff. And we're getting into stuff that I think is silly. You know, so I think this stuff is silly. So but because it's right there for everybody to see. So yeah. What's up, Willie Ron? Says Microsoft has a dirty history and Nintendo has done some dirty stuff too. I got 2 checks 25 years ago for what Nintendo did in Europe. You gave them a pass. All right. Well, yeah, Microsoft does have a checkered history when it comes to anti-consumer. But again, I you know, Microsoft is they can't beat Sony and Nintendo in the way things are, and so they're trying to just change the way things are and say you're gonna. That's why they came out with that crazy statement a few weeks ago saying, well, Sony, they can release games day and date too. They know that's gonna hurt their business model. They know it's gonna hurt their business model. So they like, yes, you do this, and then you know, they'll just outspend them. And that's what it's come down to. So, and part of it is, and I would tell anybody, they got so desperate that they just, you know, when you get desperate, you'll do stupid stuff. You know, what happened to Mass Effect when the Krogan got, they were pissed off. They were mad because they didn't get some things that they wanted. They went to war with the Turians, and the Turians got desperate and had the Solarians create the Genophage, and that made the Krogans retreat. That's what happened. So, but overall, I don't have an issue with this deal Microsoft put out. I just think I'm thinking, okay, if there's an issue with it, regulators have, they're going to have to do some things to alleviate that. I mean, so and Microsoft doesn't want to do that. They're not buying. They don't want to buy this studio and then share everything. They'll share some things, but they're not going to share everything because they have to have something to entice people in the Game Pass. And the regulators are going to have to, they have to walk a fine line. It's kind of like, because Microsoft could say, well, yes, we want to bring people in to the Game Pass. That's why Phil Spencer let out the whole thing of, yes, it will be in Game Pass, because they're trying to sell Game Pass. So they want people to know, if all you have to do is subscribe to Game Pass, and you, even though you give up ownership, you go ahead and you trade ownership for into this space that it costs you more money. Because if you're paying $10 a month, 10 times 12 is $120. So even if the games are $59.99, or you know, you're paying another, you know, what, 60% higher. You know, but you're paying 100% more if the game was 60. So it's just, it's stupid at this point. You know, it's stupid. So, you know, but and again, I will give these regulators credit. They have caught Microsoft kind of with their hands in a cookie jar, and Microsoft is scrambling now because they got to save the deal. Because if this deal does not go through, the government won't care. I mean, they were like, yeah, y'all just have to do it another way. Like Harbinger says at the end of this game, we will find another way. So, so it's that simple. It's not difficult. But that was a good question. Shout out to Vic for that question. Well, let's turn to hoops jargon. Hoops jargon is, what game am I the most impressed with this generation? As far as that's gonna have to be a tie between Ratchet and Clank and Mass Effect. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna say Ratchet and Clank and so the Spider-Man remaster, or yeah, the Spider-Man remaster. People got to remember they remastered Spider-Man. Shout out to Hip Hop Gamer. Hip Hop Gamer said this generation is a generation of the remaster. He said it because they're going to be able to go in and make these games the way the developers wanted those games to be made. You know, so and that's what they're doing. I mean, I'm playing The Last of Us, and I've played on all the levels or all the modes. So when I was playing yesterday, that was 1440p 60. That was the 1440p output is what we saw. You all saw it. It looked really good. So I played it today at 4K, 4K open frame, so it targeted 40 and it would go up and down. That felt a little heavy to me. Then I did 4K 30. That felt heavy. It looked great, And then I just got done doing performance mode, dynamic 4K, 60 frames per second with the HDR and all that kind of stuff. That's where I'm going to play it at. That felt the best to me. So that felt the best to me. So that's what I'm going to play the game on. And again, the 1440p 60 mode, that was good too. Okay, that was good too. And that was through the beta. So I had to go in and turn the beta off. So I turned my beta off, and that's where we're at right now. So again, so you have the beta mode, you have the performance, and then you have and then when you take the beta off, you get the 120 hertz mode. But you have to have that beta off because the beta does not support that. Remember, it doesn't support HDR, nor does it support that other thing. So, but eventually that will come around. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it again tonight. But the game looks good, and the sound. It's just hard to explain the atmosphere to you guys. So, and I haven't played the game in such a long time. I couldn't tell if the AI is any different. It does seem to react better. They try to flank you, and some people will flank you high, and some people will stay where they are to pin you down. I can't remember if that was being done on the last time I played it, because that was back in 2017. I think I played the first 30 minutes of it. So, but that was a good question about hoops jargon. So go to the next one. If you have any questions in the chat, you can ask them. It looks like somebody named Harry Palm. Oh, let me finish Hoop Jargon's thing. So the game, so those are the most impressive games I've seen on PlayStation. Somebody has, what games are you looking forward to in the fall? 2 games. I forgot to mention one this morning, which is God of War. I'm buying that game. So the way my day will go is movie Black Panther will come out. I'm gonna go see Black Panther, and then I'm going to go to GameStop and pick up God of War. And then after I pick, and then I'll come home, and I'll be a happy boy. So this one is called heart lung disease, or HLD. He says. Oh my goodness gracious! This is another movie question. Says here, what do I think of She-Hulk? I actually like She-Hulk. I think the episodes are they're not long enough, and it's setting up the TV show called The Thunderbolts. That's what they're setting up the Thunderbolts. So it wouldn't shock me at the end of She-Hulk if we don't get a visit from Julie Louis Dreyfus. Louise Dreyfus. They just call her Julie Louis. Dreyfus. So so that's what they're setting up with She-Hulk, and it's It's humorous. It's exactly what they said it was going to be, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. So let's see. Since you says they still have Starflop, you mean Starfield? Well, I mean, again, that's fine. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, they still have Starfield. Yeah, yeah. Real Ronan says even with powerful systems, devs still turn out games like Saints Row. So Saints Row on PC is going to run differently. Saints Row is probably good on PC, but Saints Row has always been what you all have seen. It's an over the top Grand Theft Auto. And the developers, I remember they said that. They were like, "What do you want people to know about your game?" And they looked at the screen and said, "It's a bigger, better looking version of Grand Theft Auto Vice City." I think at the time either Vice City or Grand Theft Auto 3 was out. So when Rockstar did Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, they set out to make that the biggest Grand Theft Auto of all time, and it was until Grand Theft Auto 4 came out. So, and they made that the biggest Grand Theft Auto of all time. So, um, but um, but yeah, yeah, it is what it is. Oh, it is what it is. So, Mario Heat says, I agree that next generation hasn't really started yet. Nope, because I'm because we're getting games natively outputted at 1440p, outputted at 120 FPS. You've got better refresh rates. You've got higher graphic settings. That's what everybody keeps forgetting. We have much higher graphical settings. Okay, and that always falls off the map. You know, we have better sound. We do. So it has started. We have ray tracing, and we have ray tracing. You know, we have hardware-based ray tracing, and next year we're going to have FSR 2.0, which again is already working because remember, Forspoken was already finished. It was supposed to come out next month, wasn't it? Wasn't it supposed to come out in October or something like that, and they delayed it. So it's much to my chagrin. I really want that game, but and so yeah, we're in next gen right now. That's you ask me my opinion. That's it. I don't know what you all were expecting. What we were told we were going to get, we're getting. Not every game was going to be 4K native. I told you guys that, and so shout out to Foxy Games UK. He said the same thing that he said years ago that we're not done with dynamic and checkerboarding because the technology is getting much better. So, and look, you can look at dynamic 4K on PS5 with The Last of Us. I'm playing it. I'm playing it in right now, dynamic 4K. So, you know, it just depends on what you all thought next generation was going to be. What did you all think it was going to be? Because I thought it was going to be ray tracing, better FPS. We were going to be able to get patches on games that were 30 FPS, which we got. All right, I can go back and play The Last of Us Part 2 at 1440p 60, albeit in mid to low graphics. So see, if there's a remaster, and I do think one is coming, because I was told one was coming, it will be still, we'll get exactly what we just got. We will get a 1440p native game. Naughty Dog will be able to go in and make it again. They will be able to make a dynamic 4K 60 mode. Then they will be able to go in and make a VRR mode that's open frame, and then they'll have another 4K 30 mode. You know, all that will be coming, and it will, and they may change some of the things. But according to everybody else, they won't have to change the combat because the combat in The Last of Us Part 2 was fantastic. That's fine. That's fine. And then you're going to have the idiots running around saying, well, I mean, I already platinumed the game. And it's like, well, who cares? That's fine. But they are going to take their most popular IPs and they're going to redo them. And shout out to Hip Hop Gamer. He told us all this. He was on BitCloud's podcast. He was like, this is the generation of the remaster. because they can go in and finally get these games up to where they dreamed them to be. So, I mean, look at Horizon Forbidden West, for crying out loud. Once they finally patched that correctly, people are like, that's the best looking game they've ever seen. To me, that's the best looking game I've ever seen in my life. Now, that doesn't mean it's the best game I've played. It's just the best looking. I've never seen nothing like that before. And I've got a entry level Bravia TV. I can't imagine what that'll look like on a C1 or the Sony, what is it, X95, whatever that is, the A95, whatever their TV is, or the Samsung S95B. I mean, I can't imagine what that would look like on there. You know, well, maybe I'll find out here in the fall. I don't know. That's why I'm like, well, I'll probably just end up getting a monitor where I can just output everything at 1440p and super sample everything down and get the best of both worlds. I get the, you know, we were mentioning what is next gen. You have less input lag because the TVs have much better input lag. So just it is what it is. It is what it is. So that tons of last gen games don't run 60. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn, all the Uncharted games are now 60 frames per second. The Last of Us Part 1, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, you don't need the remaster to play Ghost of Tsushima at 60 frames per second on the PS5. You can play the old version at 60 frames per second. Okay? So, it is what it is. So, but they've been able to go in and patch those games. But again, you all have to ask yourselves, what did you think next generation was going to be? I mean, because I specifically remember saying that the resolution stuff with dynamic things was not going to change. It was going to stick around. I specifically remember saying that. I specifically remember telling you that checkerboard rendering wasn't going anywhere, and it hasn't. It's just gotten so much better, you can barely tell it apart from native stuff, even though native stuff is better for you to have. It's a better look. Unreal Engine 5 game is what? That's as far as you're concerned, the only Unreal 5 game is Fortnite. Okay, well, what about Black Myth Wukong? That's on Unreal Engine 5. I mean, those Unreal Engine 5 games will come in the next year or two. Hellblade 2 was on Unreal Engine 5. It's supposed to come out next year. So you'll start seeing those games come out. And Unreal Engine 5 isn't just, that's not the only next generation. I mean, that engine is really good, but there are things it doesn't do well. You know, it doesn't do some things as well as Decima or Frostbite or or Snowdrop. I mean, that's the truth. That Snowdrop engine is a monster. That's the engine that runs Call of Duty. So that's the engine that runs Call of Duty. But next question here. We got 3 more questions, and we're gonna get on up out of here. This was from Slow Poke Pokes. Okay, Slow Poke Pokes. Okay. Let's see here. This is a Mass Effect question. Alrighty. Craig, I'm playing Mass Effect 2. After I get the Doctor, who should I go and get? Well, that's up to you. Now, my playthroughs, I get the Doctor, then I go pick up Archangel, then I go pick up, that's it. That is it. Now, I'll give you a little hint. Take Zaid Masani on the mission when you go get Archangel, because you'll get some extra dialogue. So, and I'm gonna leave it there. But that was yeah, I like that question. I like the fact that he's playing it, and he seems as he's really enjoying it. So yeah, it's a good game. Good game. So he also puts PS, I didn't save the council and everybody's treating me bad. Yeah, well, there were 70,000 people on that ship. My first playthrough, I didn't save the council either, so don't feel bad. So, and people were treating me very bad. So, so see here. So, Sony is on the verge of bankruptcy. Well, no, let's see if that's true or not. Bankruptcy. See. What? Sony verge. Sony's market cap right now is 97.86 billion. So they're almost worth $1 trillion. So your statement is incorrect. That's all I can say. That's all I can really say right now. So that would be incorrect. So look at their PE ratio if you want to, but I don't want to get too technical here. So they're not on the verge of bankruptcy. So incorrect statement there, young man. Incorrect statement. So once Microsoft takes Call of Duty away, again, they've already signed paperwork saying that they wouldn't do that. I mean, where is this coming from? So where's this coming from? All right, let me read my next question here. I've got 2 questions so we get on out of here. Because remember, yeah, for brunch at IHOP. This woman and her daughter they split a hamburger and then she got fries. And I'm like, we're at IHOP. You know me, I got 3 pancakes and some scrambled eggs, threw on that maple syrup, had that black pepper going. But yeah, that's just, it is what it is. So and then what are you gonna go get a hamburger for at an IHOP? I mean, you don't go to friggin' Burger King and order a fish sandwich, but that's this woman, man. I'm telling you what. I tell you what. Let's see here. Well, if he's a bot, you got to take that over to Marlin Gaming Nation. I mean, he probably would like that. But yeah, here we're just trying to deal with the facts so that nobody gets stupid when they leave. When you leave the classroom, you're supposed to be smarter. So, all right, 2 more questions, guys. 2 more questions. These are actually gaming questions. This is actually pretty funny. Let's see here. Ray, how many platinum trophies do you have? And this is from Mickey Ficky. Don't call me Sticky. These guys with these email addresses. The answer is how many platinum. The question: how many platinum trophies do I have? The answer: none. I don't play games to get trophies. The trophies just pop up when I'm playing. I got a trophy today in The Last of Us Part 1 for doing, what did I do? I threw a bottle at somebody and then I punched them out. And then it gave me a trophy for it. It said Brawler or something like it said. It was really quick. It was like Brawler. I was like, oh, it gave me a trophy. So the game, you pick up a bottle, right? And then it tells you what you can do with the bottle. Then when you do that with the bottle, it gave me a trophy for actually doing it. That's like, but it just told me what to do, So it's just like, so I have none. I don't. And Sony has actually made it easier to go get these trophies. You can turn on Trophy Tracker, and it'll tell you. It may even tell you where the trophies, where the stuff is to get it. I don't know. I haven't turned it on yet, but that dilutes going after trophies. Shout out to everybody that has them. No, I'm not knocking it. I don't care about it. So let's see here. Well, Strife, what's happening, brother? He says, do I think Sony can bounce back and put all the negative press once they drop the next showcase? I don't know what negative press they're getting, but no. Look, there's no such thing as bad press. There's no such thing as bad press. If they're not talking about you, then you're doing something wrong. You got to look at the people complaining. You have to look at the crux of their complaint, which is that they're poor and Sony wants money from them. And that's the way, and they're just going to have to be poor. And so they don't like the fact at the end of the day, I work in the medical field. So at the end of the day, there's a chief complaint and there's a secondary complaint. The chief complaint is $70. Everything stems from that You hear people don't like $70. They don't think these games are worth $70. That's not Sony's fault. You live in a capitalistic society. The price is the price. You either pay it or you don't pay it. And I find it hella funny and pretty much goddamn hypocritical when you have people railing against $70 and then they turn around and they spend said $70 and try to cover their ass with, well, because I'm a content creator. I call bullshit on people like that, okay? Because if you were a principle-driven man, you would say, I'm not paying $70 for this game, or I'm not paying $70 for nothing. I call bullshit on anybody. I'm making this clear. Anybody who has railed against paying $70 to only turn around and pay $70 to play the game, you're a hypocrite. I call bullshit on you. Where are your principles? All right. People have asked me about buying Modern Warfare 2. I am, but I'm not going to pay the full price for it. I'll wait for Black Friday when I can do what, you can do like what, 3 games for 70 or something like that. 3 games for 90, 3 games. It's something like that you can do. So I plan on getting Modern Warfare, Ghost Sniper Warrior, and then I'll throw in some random game that I'll pick up. You know what I'm saying? So I'll do that. So I'm buying Modern Warfare 2, but I'm not buying it when it comes out. So because I'm not paying $70 to call in the B2 and get one-man army. So somebody wants to send me a code for it. That's different. Somebody says, Craig, you're a good man. You're a principle-driven man. Merry Christmas, happy belated birthday, whatever you want to say. Here's $70. And here's a code for the game. Let me make that clear. Here's a code for Modern Warfare 2. Download it and call in the B2. Fine. That's not me spending no money. So Nelson Gaming has 3, and no, it doesn't matter if they drop a showcase, because what is going to happen, Cloud Strife, is if they do a showcase, which I'm not saying that they are, if they do a showcase, it will then become they didn't show enough gameplay. It will then become the games are too far out. So there's no reason to give into it. Okay? You don't need good press to sell your product. You need to put out a good product for people to go buy. That's, good press doesn't hurt, but it don't help you either. Because if I have a shitty product and I have great press, what difference does it make? If I have a shitty product? What the press says about it, the kissing my ass, doesn't matter. I mean, again, I can't imagine, like I was playing the game yesterday and somebody said, I can't imagine paying $70 for a game that's a bunch of cutscenes and you walk around. And I said, you know what? You're right. But it could always be worse. You could pay $500,000 for a game console and not have no games on it. So it works both ways, okay? You can say each way is shitty, but I'd much rather be out $70 on a walking sim than out half a stack and not have nothing to show for it. Like I said, that's like the Xbox at this point. It's like having 2 hard dicks and no bitch. So, I mean, where are you going to stick it? So it is what it is. So, Marlon Gaming Nation was complaining about Last of Us 1 being $70 and then was upset people were scalping the Firefly edition. It's $100. Makes no sense. Yeah, and shout out to Sick Humor. He was talking about that the other day. But I can't. Marlon doing that is why people call him a goofball. Okay? So and that's why people call him a goofball. Because he's sitting up there pounding his chest like Tarzan, saying, I can't believe this is $70. And he went out and he bought it. So start right there. And and the edition is $100. The Firefly edition was $100. I think it was $100. Isn't the Firefly edition $100? Let's look it up and see. Now, were they scalping it for more than $100? So let's see here. Firefly. Plus S5. It's already $100. Already $100. Now I think there was another edition that was no, that was a Firefly edition. It was $70. It was $100. Yeah, because I bought the game digitally, and so I'm waiting for my physical edition to come in so I can go get it and give it away. So I had to do my goal was to buy the physical edition and give away a digital copy, but I'm having to do the opposite. So, or I might just keep it. I don't know. I may be a son of a bitch and keep it. So, um, but it is what it is. So, but anybody who is telling you again, that's like if I tell you not to smoke because it causes cancer, and then I go out there and you see me puffing 3 cigars, you're gonna be like, you said not to smoke, it causes cancer. And I'm gonna be like, yep, I'm a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? So they were scalping it for $600. Okay, well, again, that's what I'm saying. That's why people said he was a goofball at this point. Okay. And again, I took an L on him on Twitter. I didn't think dude was like that. And I always try to support all black men that are in this gaming space and black women as well. But I can't support him. I'm not sub to him anymore. I'm not going to talk bad about him, but I'm just going to simply say I got to take an L on him. Like I say, he's one of the worst kind of people when he tries to determine what your value is. His value system is different than yours. He has absolutely no right telling you what is valuable or not, because that's up to you. That's up to your family. Whatever deity you pray to, you come up with your own stuff. So I can say to you, as somebody who played The Last of Us on the PS4, and I played it for a half hour on a PS4 Pro, it is a lot differently. Now, there's some things I wish they had SWAT turns. I think that's what I miss. I wish they could do SWAT turns in The Last of Us Part 1. That's about the only complaint that I got, So, there's no reason for Joel to squat down because he's like 6'3" and he's supposed to be like 220 pounds. I think that's what they were saying. So that he's a pretty good sized guy. A guy like that ain't going to be squatting or crawling on his stomach. But that's what, I understand people saying, man, it would have been nice if they put SWAT turns in. Okay, fair enough. I mean, you're not, that would have made the combat a lot smoother, but it also would have made it easier. So they were going for, they don't want you to have all these military skills with these characters. So that's why even with Ellie, she's a girl, so she approached people from behind. She approached people from behind. So except for Dina when she gave her that big time kiss, and I'm telling you right now, if you pan the camera slow, I think you see a little bit of nip on there. I mean, that's just me, but maybe I'm just that kind of man. You know what I'm saying? So, that you've been watching him since Nintendo days, 7-8 years from now. It's disappointing. Yeah, I'm disappointed more in myself because I'm a better judge of character, but I will always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I'm a Virgo, so we always give people the benefit of the doubt. And yeah, that's an L for me. And like I said, look, I was on I podcast with him. He invited me on. I will always be thankful because people sub to me because I was on that podcast. So I am always gonna be thankful for him doing that. But he doesn't. He's just pandering at this point, and it's unfortunate that he's turned to that. But he gets money off YouTube. I do not. I get zip, not a dime. You know what I'm saying? So, and he actually is paying a mortgage based on that. So, and that's totally different than what I'm doing. Totally different. So, foul strike. Yeah, he changed it up for super. Did he now? Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. If that's what he did, that's unfortunate. I'm not going to accuse him of that. But yeah, that's unfortunate if that's the truth. That's the truth. Like I said, I'm disappointed in him, and more disappointed in myself because I'm usually a good judge of character. But yeah, it's unfortunate if he is on to this whole thing. I'm gonna bash Sony. Like I said, his podcast, Let's Talk PlayStation. There's already a podcast by Mystic called Let's Talk PlayStation. He don't care about that. It's just this bullshit. Maybe he'll remain. Maybe he'll change the name. I don't know. I don't I don't listen to him, so I couldn't. Somebody did send me a clip of him railing about the $70 only to go out. And I think Sick Humor talked about it the other day. So yeah, it's stupid. I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid to be talking about it because he ain't gonna change. So I certainly hope he does. He's a Christian, so I certainly hope that he does see the light, so to speak. But so nobody is above reproach. The pot calling the kettle black is stupid. Let's just go ahead and pray for him and pray for his listeners that they don't get caught up in his effery, and let's move on. So top down, base down. Last question here, then we're gonna get on up out of here, and it is a good question. Let's see here. In 10 years, in 10 years, where do you see yourself? I'll probably be departed of this earth. Actually, in 10 years, I will be retired, working part-time, I hope. And just, I'm going to get myself an above-ground pool and just go out and swim in the pool. That's going to be me. I'm going to have a giant beach ball that I've always seen on TV. I'll be out there with a grill, grilling out. That's me in 10 years. So if everybody's here and everybody makes it, yeah. But guys, that was it. That was the 10 questions, and you all saw where Sony won their antitrust lawsuit because they're not producing Who's More Moist by far. Well, I'm not gonna get into that. I ain't gonna get into no name calling. Come on now. We'll just we'll pray for both of them and hope for better things, and that's all you can do, and you move on. So look, BitCloud and Foxy Games UK, they had a talk with Matt's Gaming. They thought they had gotten through to Matt's. They thought that Matt's would change it up because there was no reason for him to be on the stuff he's on. And he made a conscious decision to do content the way he's doing it. So that's all you can do is talk to people, not talk at them. You talk to them. And what if somebody sees what these content creators are really dependent on is information, but the information is already out there. It's just, hey, you're waiting on them. And I get it. You like their personalities. I understand. I understand that. Why are you all here right now on a Sunday, on a long weekend, listening to some old man? You like my personality. So, but there's an exchange here. If you're going to take the time to listen, whether live or later, I got to do a good job of giving you the best information I can, not fanboy BS. You all get enough of that during the week. You all get the fanboy stuff during the week. You can turn on a different podcast. There was some fanboy on this afternoon, So there was some fanboy on this morning. I'm just wherever. There was somebody else posting stuff, I'm sure. But you all can go ahead and get this information yourselves. So yes, I do get a lot of information, but I don't share it all because you never know when you're trying to develop sources, and I've said this before, people will give you information that's false on purpose to see if you'll sit on it or not. There's not a doubt in my mind. I got information that was totally false. Totally false. And I sat on it, and the guy said to me, that information was false, so I'm glad you didn't run with it. Like, yeah, me too. But then he's the one who gave me the information about Bungie being bought by Sony, and that's why I didn't just come out and say Sony bought Bungie. I literally started, because people were like, they're going to buy Konami and they're going to buy Kojima. I'm like, yeah, but what about Bungie? I mean, you can go back to that stuff I was saying. What about Bungie? Bungie's still available. They make a pretty successful game. That's what I started saying, and people, and then next thing you know, they bought Bungie. So I was like, yeah, I knew that already. So it is crazy. Insomniac Games. Yeah, I knew they had bought Insomniac Games. That's what I said. I mean, I knew they were going to announce it. I was hoping I could get my podcast up in time, but I was at work, and next thing I know, I think it was The Crap Gamer came on, and it said Sony buys Insomniac Games or something like that. And I'm like, damn it, I couldn't get home in time. I was hoping they'd sit on it for one more day. but I was at work. So, but yeah, so that is the thing. And look, that those guys are both bigger streamers than I'll ever be. Than I'll ever be. So, and but these guys know, and these gals, just like the women, these women are getting banned on Twitch now, and that's because they're gaming in their bikini tops. They were gaming in bikini tops, talking about, oh well, I'm new to this game, and they're sitting up there and they're a C cup with a bikini that's a little bit too small, and guys are just rolling in donations. They're because dudes are thirsty and the women know it. So the women are taking advantage of that. That's what they're doing. So like that one content creator said, my dance channel got banned off Twitch. It's like, well, what did you do? Because Twitch doesn't just arbitrarily take stuff off. I said, was it a teaching channel? She said no. I said, well, then that's why. If you're there to teach, help people will be there. Twitch has to look at it as a teaching channel. Are you teaching ballet? Are you teaching hip hop? Nah, this bitch was twerking. Talking about it's a dance. Oh, come on, man. So Xbot448 will be the king. Yeah, I haven't heard from him in years. I have not heard from him in years. So I certainly hope he's doing okay. So yeah, ASMR bathtub stream. So yeah, wouldn't shock me. Even though ASMR I didn't think worked, and then one day I was watching a channel that was ASMR, and I woke up, I was asleep in the chair. I had been asleep for 6 hours. I mean, I was out. I was out. But to me, ASMR is Mark Cerny's Sony speech. When he was talking about the PS5, rolled the PS5, I fell asleep on that. If Sick Humor didn't do his podcast and break it down for me, I would be like, what the hell was Mark Cerny talking about? But yeah, just be mindful where you get your information at. So because if those cats have agendas, then you will become part of their agenda. So Sony's games are $100, and a lot of people don't like that, and so that's the chief complaint. And the secondary complaint is I'm getting priced out the market, therefore I'm going to rail against what Sony is doing. And you're in a capitalistic society, and they have a right to adjust their prices. That's reality. So that is reality. Yeah, white zaddy in a bikini. These guys will probably like it. So, but yeah, I don't get it at this point. So I don't. For me personally, I'm just enjoying the games that I got, and I know maybe it's because I'm in the medical field and we went through the pandemic and I saw family, people dying, and we could only have X amount of people in the room, and we had people die, and they died when the daughter would be in the room, but then we had to go down with the daughter and get the go get the son, go get the grandkids. We had to do all that. And there ain't nothing, the longest ride in an elevator is with a grieving person having to walk to another part of the hospital that's out of our quarantine area, helping them get all their stuff off while they're in tears, by the way, and then throwing all that stuff away and walking with them out of the quarantine area to where their other loved one is and saying, I'm sorry for your loss. I mean, I got so tired of saying I'm sorry for your loss. It's just pan now. Just pan. So, no, I will not be in the bathtub. So, I will not be in the bathtub. Is there a link showing where they won the lawsuit? Yeah, I had it up earlier, and we'll just put it back up there for you. Let's see here. Let's and that page. Up here it is. Bloomberg Law. I'm sorry. I bookmarked it, couldn't find it. Here is your source. So you all can see it again. I had it up beginning of the podcast. And there it is. Sony gets court to toss video gamers PlayStation antitrust lawsuit. So again, it's when you hear people saying Sony's anti-consumer, the next question should be, Where is the antitrust, anti-consumer lawsuits that they've had to settle and or that they lost? And these guys are they're lying to you, getting donations. So you go figure it out. So it ain't that difficult. No, they're not telling the truth. So never say never. I guess not. You're right about that. So never say never. But yeah, they won the lawsuit saying that they committed an act of anti-consumerism by taking third-party stuff off the store and them controlling their own store. If it makes any difference, there was no jury. It was nothing like that. It was a preliminary hearing, and the judge threw it out. I think with prejudice, so they can come back and refile their suit if they can find some evidence, but there ain't no evidence because it's not, they're not an anti-consumer driven company. All companies by default, if they create a product that you have a choice to buy, is pro-consumer because you as a consumer have a choice. You have a choice. So it is what it is. You know, you can choose to have Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all at the same time. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. Or you can choose to have none or one. The fact that you can choose is pro-consumer. Now, what has happened is, my opinion is that you have a group of people, and Brap said this, so shout out to Enrique. There's a group of people who believe that they're getting priced out the market and that these companies should not have the right to raise and or lower their prices. Okay? There's a group of people who believe they should not be able to raise their prices. And then there's a group saying, well, they should always lower their prices. You know, they're greedy. They shouldn't be doing this. Sony's market cap, $97 billion. So they're not too far off from $1 trillion. And they raised the price of PlayStation. So guess what's going to be $1 trillion company by Q2 of next year? Sony. And guess who will be the darling? Will be PlayStation, because they'll lead the way. They will lead the way. And but you do have a group. And again, as a content creator, I see the selective outrage. And I could do a whole podcast saying Sony's anti-consumer. But if one of you in the chat were to send a donation, which forces me to read it out loud, and you say, Craig, you're saying they're anti-consumer, show me a case that Sony lost on the basis of being anti-consumer. Not a case that was filed. Show me a case that Sony lost because they were anti-consumer. Guess what? There are no cases of Sony losing because they're not anti-consumer. Well, let's find out here. Sony loses antitrust. There's nothing here. I typed in Sony loses antitrust lawsuit. It should be the first thing that pops up, right? Not here. I've got the dismissal. I've got the now Sony has been sued over musical things by Michael Jackson and Prince and all that kind of stuff. Sony is being sued, but I'm not seeing anything here. It's just there's nothing here. So you know, this is another take on the on what happened here. You know, looking at news.com from Europe, judge rules PlayStation isn't anti-competitive, throws out lawsuit. This is the same lawsuit that we were just talking about, July 20th, 2022. Now, I can't find anything on Sony, but let's see here if Microsoft has lost an antitrust lawsuit. Let's see here. United States versus Microsoft Corporation, a noted American antitrust lawsuit case in which the U.S. government accused Microsoft of illegally maintaining its monopoly position in the PC market, primarily through the legal and technical restrictions it put on the abilities of PC manufacturers and users to install Internet Explorer and other programs such as Netscape and Java. At trial, the district court ruled that Microsoft's actions constituted unlawful monopolization under Section 2 of the Sherman Act of 1890, and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit affirmed. So again, Microsoft lost, went to an appellate court and lost again. So they have lost antitrust lawsuits. All right, and that is what it is. And people this has actually happened to them. So antitrust laws ensure one company doesn't control the market, deplete consumer choice, and inflate prices. That's what antitrust laws do. So the next time Marlin Gaming Nation or anybody starts talking about Sony being anti-consumer, send him a super chat and ask him what, because now we know that Sony has never lost an antitrust case. So why don't you ask him that? I dare you to ask him that, and then let's see what he does then. And then you all you have to let me know, but just watch what he does. Okay, he could simply Google it, and he's gonna find the same thing I found, and then ask him in another super chat. Because like you said, it's about super chats to him. Okay, let's put it to the test. Ask him to find the case where Sony lost an antitrust case, and then you find the case, because you have the United States of America versus Microsoft. Microsoft lost that case on antitrust. They violated the Sherman Act. They appealed and they lost again. Okay, so that's the truth. That is the truth. That's not me dogging Microsoft out or saying Microsoft is a horrible company. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they have lost the case. So just send Marlon that super chat money, everybody. And let's see what he does. So yeah, anti-consumer would be a whole different game. Well, anti-consumer, antitrust is under the same umbrella. So, but the cases now, Sony does have a case pending in the UK on 5 billion sterling, saying that they were ripping people off. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But this case right here got thrown out. That's just the reality of what you're looking at. So it's not about rooting for anybody. But if there's not any other questions, I will go. So I will get on off here because I do want to get back to playing The Last of Us and trying to kill this person. So see here, give you a minute or two. So give you a minute or two to see what you say. And let me put up another poll here. Let me close this poll. In that poll, looks like most of y'all have pre-ordered God of War. Another poll. Good. Oops. Did I? Right. Here. Talking. So the next question is a poll. Says, should I start a We're Talking PlayStation podcast? That's the name of the podcast. It'll be We're Talking PlayStation. So that's, what do you all think about that? I'm going to put another poll up here on my community chest. Let me go here. Let's create polls. Actually, and let me do it a different way. All right, then, but that'll be the question of the day. And we'll come back and answer that tomorrow. But guys, that is it. I'm going to bounce on out of here. You all enjoy your long, we're talking Game Pass. Well, no, I don't have Game Pass. I can't talk about it. Nothing wrong with Game Pass, though. I've had it before on the console, and I've had it before on PC, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. That's what you want and lose ownership. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, okay? But all right, guys, that's it. I'm going to bounce like a check. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Out.